My serpentine belt has been removed. There's a tensioner pulley. For those of you that have never replaced a serpentine belt, there's a tension pulley down there. And what you do is you slip a wrench or a ratchet, or they actually make a long cheater bar for that. And that would be much easier. If you're not a strong person, you're going to need a cheater bar. So when you move the tensioner, I found the easiest way to take the belt off was to turn this and slide the belt off at the same time. Turn the alternator and slide the belt off at the same time. It came right off. Some people have said not to remove the serpentine belt completely. Guys, it's not that hard to put back on. Alright guys, you're going to have a hard time seeing this, but what I'm doing right now is I am removing the tensioner. Not just the pulley, that releases, that you move to release the tension, but the whole tension unit, so I can get at the driver's side plugs. What you don't see from above is where my ratchet is, and that's a 9/16 socket. I have a short extension and a short socket, or you could use a deep socket with no extension. And it is moving. You'll have a hard time seeing, but okay, I've broken the tension. So here's the bolt. It's a very long bolt. Okay, so as you can see, it took a little finagling, but I was able to get the whole tensioner out and up through. Right where the tip of my screwdriver is, there's a bolt. People remove that bolt. It holds down one of the air compressor lines. They break that bracket free just to give you a little extra room. All right, so here is the tensioner bolt, and let's get an answer to this once and for all. So the tensioner pulley is 5/8. To remove the bolt holding in the tensioner, 16 millimeter, way too big. 9/16 fits really nice. 15 millimeter, too loose. So my tensioner pulley, I have no idea about this. I've never worked with these before. I suppose it'd be easy enough to replace, but there's something I really don't like. On the back edge, there's actually a burr there. The plastic pulley, I don't know if it's rubbed on something. The plastic pulley has an edge on it. That can't be good. I mean, a belt is riding on there. So I'm gonna just carefully file that jagged edge off there. I can't imagine that's good. For now, I'm just going to do this and put it back together. This, so far, getting to this has been pretty easy. So I'll do some research later if I need to replace this and how easy it is to get one, or what's involved with replacing it. But yeah, this edge is nasty. Now my belt actually was in really nice shape. I did buy a new belt. I didn't have to. There was nothing wrong with the belt that was on there. Well, I shouldn't say that. It looks like there was a couple really small rocks from the road got kicked up in the belt system, and they embedded themselves in the belt. Really small rocks, and for that reason alone I'm replacing the belt, but the belt showed no sign of wear or fraying or separating or deteriorating. Nothing on the edge where this would damage it. The belt looked really good. It wasn't the original belt. There was a Napa belt in there. But this is definitely going to be an improvement. I'm not going to forget about this. I will do some research and see if this is something that I should replace. And if so, how easy is it to get a replacement part? And if there's anybody watching me, this is plastic, so I'm really not all that worried about loading up my file. Loading up a file, that's a term for filling in the teeth of the file. Believe it or not, there's actually a right and a wrong way to use a file. Well, for one, this should have a handle on it. My hand could slip. This could really hurt me. But what you do on a file is you push, lift up, push, lift up, push, lift up. You don't saw back and forth. What happens is when you come backwards, you're dulling the teeth of the file. But you know, it looks like I'm going forward and backward, and I am. What you're not able to see is that I'm releasing the pressure on the file when I bring it back. It is dragging back across it, but it's not doing any harm. And again, this is a plastic pulley. No harm done here. Okay. Nice smooth edge. I like it. I like it.
Alright guys, this is it. I'm going to finish everything that I've been working on for plugs and wires. All I have left to do is put the serpentine belt back on, connect the battery, turn the engine over. It's taken me a few days because I just have limited time during the week, and I had a hard time getting the serpentine belt on with just a combo wrench. There's not enough room for a ratchet and cheater bar. So I made my own serpentine belt wrench. So we'll get to see that. I've got a surprise for you when I open the door here in Minnesota. It's 30 degrees cooler today than it was yesterday. I'm hoping the vehicle starts. If it doesn't, then I'm going to have to start the troubleshooting process for why a vehicle doesn't start, or why an LT1 Corvette doesn't start. And there is quite a few troubleshooting processes. I hope it's not the Opti, but we'll find out. We'll know very shortly. So this is my serpentine belt wrench. I had a hard time with the combo wrench getting enough leverage. There's limited space. I couldn't get a ratchet, which would allow me to use a cheater bar. So I went to Menards, spent $15. I got a 1.5-inch wide piece of flat bar, mild steel, drilled a hole, welded in a 5/8 socket. I bought a socket. I needed to also trim the socket. It was still, even though it wasn't a deep well socket, it was still too wide to fit in there. So I bought a 5/8 impact socket. I bought the impact socket because it was thicker and would allow me more weld. So I drilled a hole, put the socket through, welded behind it, a couple tack welds in the front. This is going to be a piece of cake. So let's see how this goes. Let's see how this wrench fits on here. Oh, look at that. Absolutely perfect. All right, I got my Serpentine belt on. I'm gonna share with you my pattern or path that I took for reinstalling, and I'll also show you how I removed it very easily. So when I removed it, right down here is the tensioner bolt. Okay, you put a wrench on there, you lift it up, and how I removed it was I took the alternator pulley and I pushed it that way, one hand on the pulley, one hand on the belt, holding down the wrench, and I was able to go counterclockwise on the alternator pulley, and this just peeled right off. Removal, a non-issue. Getting the new belt on, a whole different story. Getting the new belt on, I snaked it all around, and I found that I had to put it on the alternator this time, and this large pulley here is where I slipped it on, and I went from this side around, and it went on fairly easily. So maybe that's common knowledge, I don't know. It's been 14 years since I replaced a Serpentine belt on an LT1 engine, and I just can't remember. And I don't know if all belts are different. This is a Gates. It's a decent belt, you know. There was a Napa belt on it. This is a Gates I put on. Side by side, it looked to be just a tad bit smaller, but I'm sure that's just stretching of the old belt. Anyways, it wasn't as easy to put on as I thought. Even with the wrench that I made for all that leverage, I still had to fight with it a little bit.